So are you normal?
No.
No, you're not. Okay. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, you're going to interact with the first speaker who's a little lousy. Okay? Lousy because I'll tell you, between my brother and me, Rajesh and I, we started this company in '98, so 5-6 decades back. Okay? So we didn't even know raising money was an option. I'll be very honest with you. We didn't know. And then, by the time we realized 5-6 years after that, we didn't know how to raise money. So we had no other choice but to bootstrap. We had to point trial by fire. We didn't know how to raise money. So we had to bootstrap. And we never knew bleeding was an option in business. So when you start, you're so much engrossed, you're in love of the business. I'm talking of our times. Now in economic times, every day when you open your papers or you consume content on mobile, so you actually read 200 million raised, 50 million raised, 400 million raised. Those were not the times when we started our companies. So we had no such options then. So now, first of all, I'll start with what and why of bootstrapping. Okay, so what is bootstrapping? So we just mentioned what bootstrapping is. So there are many definitions of bootstrapping. For us, the simple definition of bootstrapping has been when you have to build, or you are building your business without large infusions of external fund, any type of external funding. So when you're building your business during these phases, you're actually bootstrapping your business. So what it means? It means at every stage you have to do more with less. Not only with less money, but with limited time also. So you have to do more with less money, less time. Now, I see many faces who are very young, so maybe just coming out of colleges or have already come out. So these days you have options, because it's in vogue and it's proven in many cities here in India and elsewhere also. You can start, if you are kind of starting your ventures which are technology based, so which are tech ventures, you can start from hostels, you can even start from your homes. You have co-working spaces. So Smear and I have been discussing lately that we should have an incubator, we should have co-working space in Ludhiana. Okay, so we have kind of options like this. So in our case, when we had to start, we started from our own home, from our own house. So we had 2 spare rooms on the ground floor. So one was a room, Another was a garage. We would keep our car in the night, our parents' car actually. And in the morning we'll take the car out and put the chairs in. Just for information, TCY is into education space. Yeah, so it's into education space. We have 2 kinds of, I would say, models. One is instructor-led and other is algorithmic, which is totally online assessments. So that before I start, I just kind of let you know what we do so that you relate to what I'm trying to say. So instructor-led is again 2 types. One is face-to-face, like we are talking now, and other is online tuition. So both are instructor-led. So human is there, sitting there, while the student is on the other side, the learner is on the other side. Other is purely algorithmic, which is volume-wise, it's a bigger piece. Okay, it's online portal, it's an online platform, and we have school assessments and test prep assessments around 180 categories. So we have on that platform. So these are 2 things that we do. So why we chose both of us to start from garage, not the other room? Because we have been reading the companies that become big, they start from garage. So that was our reason to start from the garage, not from the other room. So that's how we started. And in terms of bootstrapping, so the sources of your funds could be your personal savings, it could be your family, it could be your friends, or you pick up tidbits from here and there. And in our case, it has been family money throughout. Okay, so we were never kind of hesitant to ask for money of our parents. And we have been doing it until a few years back also. So we would take money and we would return money, we would take, we would return, we would take and return, and sometimes they'll forget also. So we're very happy because you know how parents deal with their children. And when you know sometimes that the timeline was coming, we had to return the money, you would enter home without talking to anyone so that they assume we are very stressed. So we have no time to talk to them and they won't ask for money. So, and you don't have this luxury with investors, okay? Because they don't care about your mood swings. Okay, so they need the numbers on the table on this date every month or this date every quarter. So this is how we tried to do stuff. But the question you should ask of yourself is, this bootstrapping thing, why would you go through the pain of bootstrapping? Because bootstrapping is a really, really painful process. In our case, maybe it was lesser because we had family to support us, but I've seen many friends, bootstrapping may kill you. It's not easy. So the answers have to come from within. You know, it's akin to asking yourself, oh, what does business mean to you? Is it a one-night stand? Or is it a dating experience of few months, few years? Or it's a long-term relationship, lifelong relationship? Because once that goal is clear, then all your answers, all your solutions are in sync with that. Because if you know that you want to run this business, you will see many, many entrepreneurs here in the US and everywhere who would just flip the venture in 2 years and move on. Again, 1 or 2 years and move on. So before they even start the venture, they know how to take the exit from the venture. I don't know if we didn't know that. Because whatever steps we were taking, we were assuming as if this venture has to go on for 500 years. And still, you know, we haven't even scratched the surface. We're too small. But the point is, you have to take the call what your venture means to you. Yeah, and then third was like, in our case, we were already married when we started this venture. But here's a serious advice. On a serious note, I want to tell you, if you are not married yet, and if you want to get into startups, think twice. Okay, or you may have to make an either-or decision, if not permanently, for a long period of time. Because I've seen, if your spouse, if your family is not supportive, it gets very, very tough sometimes. You get a point? Believe me, if you have a cribbing spouse or you have someone and you feel that your strings are being pulled every now and then you are not running one startup, you're running 2 startups. One in the day and second after office hours. And believe me, running 2 startups at the same time is very, very taxing. Okay? So you may be killed sooner. So, and then today again, coming back to the thing, that because I have seen, like somebody was talking about QR code, Shwinder was talking about other startup that he wants to do, and then there's a lady you spoke about that you want to kind of aggregate a certain community and social listening. So many entrepreneurs I know, they want to work around technology. Is it right? So things have become a little easier these days because you don't have to invest in the servers upfront. You don't have to invest in the softwares upfront. You don't have to invest in swanky offices upfront. You get a point? Because you have AWS, you have other companies, you have cloud, you have SaaS, software as a service, you have incubators, you have co-working spaces. So what I want to say is, these days in this ecosystem, most of the stuff is available by the drink. You don't have to invest in the complete bottle now. Okay, so maybe 15, 20 years back, when we were thinking of putting stuff together, you first of all had to make an upfront investment in the complete bottle without knowing whether you would be needing the rest of the 14 drinks or not, because you knew you just needed 2. So this is available now. You get my point? So this is getting slightly easier also. I mean, entry is becoming easier now. And then, just imagine, so taking one thing. So today, if these guys, you use Uber, you use Ola, you use other taxi hailing services which are app-based. Just imagine if these companies first had to make GPS, then maps, then touch technology. When would they launch this thing? So whereas when the ecosystem is getting more and more ready for better and better services, you have to keep your ears and eyes open. You know, what is being readied in the ecosystem that I put something over it and I have another service which I can bring to the world. So that is these are the kinds of advantages that we are having these days. So start thinking from there. And then, you know, in this stage, you know, try to make the most of your professors if you are, you know, in your colleges, because I've seen many professors are, especially from engineering, commerce, business management, disciplines like these, that these professors are also trying to connect to the ecosystem outside, like this, like LME. I also happen to be associated with LME, Ludhiana Management Association. So we are seeing that these, or TIE, okay. So these professors have started kind of interacting or becoming part of such ecosystems. So if you're a student and you don't know how to get into such ecosystems, there is no harm. Start talking to your professors. They can help you, you know, get connected to such ecosystems. Secondly, if you have a great idea, but you don't have the capital, there are many interns these days who for a short period of time can work free for you if the idea is great, because they want a great resume and they want a great experience. Just for information, as I just mentioned about Ashima, she studied in LSR, and then she did her SP Jan, she just finished her MBA, and she's an intern with us. So similarly, we have many such students who intern with us every year. It's fun for them, it's a good advantage for us. Okay, so you have to keep all your options open, because many times you don't have unlimited resources to do all this. Now, the next thing is you are building your venture. Okay, you start from zero, you've been bootstrapping. So the game from 0 to 1 is different. 1 means you become a little stable now. Okay, so you know your car is in first gear. So it's not kind of, you're not in a very unstable situation, so you have reached 1 with your bootstrapping skills, spirit, or whatever. But now the main story is, stage 1 to 10 is a totally different game altogether. Totally different, because now you need processes, you need experts, you need some investments, because I'll tell you what, because it means if you've reached 1, it means you have some customer validation. And what's your next goal? Having many, many more customers, maybe hundreds and thousands. Yeah, so now you cannot be at the gate all the time. Now you cannot be the gatekeeper for all the processes. So it means you have to rely on processes, you have to rely on other people. What it means is from 1 to 10, you know, when you have to take your company from 1 to 10, you need a different skill set, you need investments. And more often than not, I have seen your internal accruals cannot take care of that. I'm not saying in every case, but I would say in more than 90% of the cases. So the good thing is you have bootstrap already from 0 to 1. If you can, up to 2, 3, 4, without being vulnerable to outside competition or stuff like that, great. But I have seen by the time you're 1, 1.5, 2, you are noticed already, because you have taken off, people are noticing you, potential competitor is there. Okay, then it becomes largely a function of financial resources. If your internal accruals cannot take care of that, then you have no other choice but to go raise money. It could be debt, it could be equity, it could be combination or whatever. But otherwise, what is happening? Because it will be very rare that you have such a high margin business and between 1 to 10 you don't meet competition. It's very rare. I'm yet to see companies. Okay, however, I will give you a classic example of a company just 1 minute from now. Now 1 to 10 is, now writing is on the wall. Two things. If there's a large market out there which needs to be addressed, and if you don't do that, somebody else will come and do. Okay, so you have to do that. Otherwise, you lose market share. Number one. Number two also, if in this stage you are looking for an investment, in this stage or any preceding stage before this, look, we have to be very clear about one thing. VC money is not cheap money, it's very, very expensive money. Some people think, oh, since I don't have to return this money, it's cheap. In that sense, yes. You know, you can experiment things that are left, right, but it is really, really expensive money because after the money has come in, it changes everything. I'll touch what all it may change. When let's say your trajectory of your business is like this, let's say 20 degrees with x-axis, okay? And you think that an investor will come, so he or she will let you have that trajectory for 3-4 years because they want an exit, so 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, depending upon the horizon of the fund, you know, like angel, VC, PE, whatever. So now the clock is ticking. Two things. First of all, they are not investing for the same trajectory. And number two, they are not funding a loss. They are just funding one thing. What is that?
The basic
Growth. Simple funda. They are not funding your loss. They are not funding your existing trajectory. If your business doesn't look like a hockey stick after the money has been infused, they are not interested. We didn't know it for many years. Okay, so but if you are setting out on the journey, you should know. It's very, very important. So the example that I wanted to give you is a classic company. I'm very intrigued by this company. There may be many, but there's a company called Zoho in Chennai. They beat the shit out of big players, not only in India, but outside also. They have already reached, I think, hundreds of millions of revenue, and they are competing with big daddies like Salesforce and Microsoft, if you will read about that. I'm really intrigued. I don't know much about that guy, but I have got a chance to read about that company. It's really intriguing. How, I don't know where in the, from 1 to 10, where they are. I'm sure they're way above 4, 5. I'm not sure in their own definition they're reaching 8, 9, 10. But the way they have bootstrapped their company to this level, this is really, really intriguing to my mind. I think it's very difficult for us to do that. So far, whatever stage we have been able to bootstrap is fine, but from 1 to 10, I think it's not easy. Now, you have to see, are you ready for this funding thing? Okay, again, you have to ask yourselves the same questions which I asked few minutes back. What are you making this? I mean, what's your goal for your company? Long haul, couple of years, just steady. You have to see. Okay, because many things will change. Like when money will come, now the money has come. By 5 p.m., the graph has to move into other direction. At least it has to start moving into that direction. What does it mean? You have to add layers of management. Very simple. कौन सी चीज नहीं है ये ले आओ, सेल्स का बंदा नहीं है ये ले आओ, एक चाहिए 3 ले आओ, ब्रांडिंग में ये ले आओ, फलाने में ये ले आओ, you know, security नहीं है, hire this. So because things are moving so fast, and I don't know good or bad, okay, but till this stage your company is not ready actually, in most of the cases. So you have to add layers and layers of management. Number 2, now your mistakes will be very costly. Your mistakes will not be like small mistakes, if at all you will make. So this will be very, very costly. And third is, the control is less, because there are other stakeholders in the game. They are also part of the control mechanism. Then culture, which is very, very important. Because when you are, there are two ways. One, you're building the company ground up, top down, so when you're bringing heavyweight professionals from outside, you have to compromise on the culture also. Or you have to be very, very headstrong. You've seen, companies, it's very easy to bring professionals on board who are coming from already scaled up companies. They bring brilliant ideas, brilliant execution skills, no doubt. But sometimes I have seen, in the cases of companies of my own friends, I have seen, cultural fitment becomes an issue. So you have to be very careful. Are you ready for all this? Okay, sometimes VCs are ready to put money on the table. But you have to see what journey have you envisaged for yourself and your early members, because they are the ones actually, to my mind, they are the true entrepreneurs. You are not the true entrepreneur. I'll tell you why. When we start companies, sometimes both of us discuss, it is just out of passion. You have to do something, and your stakes are very low. You don't have mortgages to clear, you don't have EMIs to make. So, and you want to do something. You're young, you're uncontrollable, and you're in your early 20s, in most of the cases. So, I don't think you're an entrepreneur. You are kind of an uncontrollable sort of animal then. To be very honest with you, that's when we start, because we have no sense of revenues, bottom lines. We just want to start because we're thinking ahead of ourselves. So the real entrepreneurs, I'll tell you, we think the early people who join you, I'll tell you why. They have taken the risk with their careers because they have hazard other options outside. Why they are associating with you at the pink of their careers, at the prime time of their careers. So they are the real entrepreneurs who eventually become your co-pilots. If you've not, you kind of figure out the importance of co-pilots, soon you would, if you are going on this journey. So you have to see, because when cultural changes will come, cultural changes will not affect you only. They will affect all people in your company. If you're ready, fine. And what I was talking about control, what starts happening is, now there's this guy, investor, they're brilliant guy. So I don't know whether you have interacted with investment bankers or not. They're real super brilliant guys, especially in numbers and Excel sheets. Now unfortunately what happens is, they have a portfolio of companies. Okay, so your turn will come once in 3 months. He will spend 2 hours, 3 hours, very intense maybe, and then he will come and he or she will come and say, okay, what if we change this to this? Sometimes this information is very, very important. But the point is, you as an entrepreneur, you are in your game 24/7, 365 days a year. Even when you're in shower, when you're on board, when you're sleeping, when you're driving, when you're dining, you are immersed, in your game. And there are 1,000 or more control points in your cockpit. You're flying your plane, and there are more than 1,000, control points which you have to make sure every control point out of these 1,000 has to be right for your plane to be flying. And this guy comes and tells, what if we change from this to this? It's not easy. My dear friends, it is not easy. And I'll tell you why. Because I have a couple of friends who are venture funded. Now they repent. I'll tell you why. It takes, because, you are, how should I put it? Who knows the pain of a child born, mother or father? Why?
She's actually even more.
Yeah, because she's been through that pain. She knows. She would know, father would know which is the best doctor to take a child to, but mother will make sure that day never comes, that situation never comes. This is the difference. Okay, so why should I be in a situation that my child has to be taken to a doctor? So you can imagine. Okay, so sometimes, because the founders, they have that kind of DNA. Mr. Singhal, I'll request if you come here, sir, please. And you have one such founder here. Okay? You should ask him, you should ask my question also of him. Actually, you should ask all questions of him. I have learned a lot from this man. And the good news is, whenever he meets me, he says, 100 crore rupiya pe yaar, kithe lagawa, youngsters aande nahi. Right? Mr. Singhal? Overstatement, no. It's an understatement. He says, I want to fund youngsters. And the best news is, on Saturdays and Sundays, he keeps his checkbook in his pocket. Okay? So, yeah. So welcome, Singhal sir. So now, I'll tell you we spoke about why bootstrapping. Okay, what is bootstrapping? So I'll tell you just one small, you may find them funny also actually, because these are, as I told you, 5-6 decade old stories, 98 times. When we had to start, I remember, as I told you, we started with classroom model. You may think it's funny, or you may think that we did not have full confidence in our venture. I think it is good to worry rather than being ignorant. That is what my experience in business is. Okay, I know, worrying can take a toll on many things. Your health, your happiness index and all. But I think there is nothing wrong in worrying and preempting the risks. So I remember when we had to start in 98, I went to this furniture shop near bus stand. We needed 20 chairs, 6-7 we had, because every dining table has 6. Okay, so 2 more, so we needed 10-12 more chairs. I went to the furniture shop, we had to buy 12 chairs. So I was negotiating with him, price, here, oh. So last minute, very shyly, I said, sir, what if I pay you after 1 month? Is it okay? He said, no. So, पढ़े लिखे लगते हो, कैसी बातें करते हो time, I remember. I said, okay, what if our things don't take off? Can I return these chairs? These 12-13 chairs. So, and if I look back, what was that? It was nothing but bootstrapping. Although it's a very small thing, we just wanted as little money as we could take from our parents that will be better. So this was one. Then second was, something, I don't know whether you can relate to this or not. As a teacher, you were taking a session, okay? It could be commercial math, reasoning, or a group discussion or whatever. Let's say the session went really brilliant in your classroom. There are 20 students. You took a session which really went well, to your satisfaction, and you can see the happiness in the eyes of your students. That should make you very happy. But we used to come to the office and said, yeah, Rajesh, this session was produced and consumed there. It will have no lasting value. Like a movie would. You can play the movie 10 times. You get my point? Music 10 times. Are we in the right line, or are we having the right model? So there will be, if we are taking, let's say, 100 sessions in a year, 20 will be great, 20 will be not so great, the rest will be lousy. So what is the repeat value of this? So I'll tell you how you start, when you're alone, maybe these things don't come to mind, but both of us used to struggle, brainstorm at the end of every day for small things. Similarly, he used to make content. I was at the front end, he was at the back end. He used to make brilliant questions for the students. Traps, choices and all, competitive exams. Now, problem is not in questions. The value is not in questions. Where is the value? You're all students.
Value as
I give you an aptitude test here, and all are racking your brains, and I set you free. I go out and I come back. It's kind of, it's not an entrance thing, but go through these questions, students. Where is the value?
The evaluation traveling.
The real value of a great question is in the discussion around that, the brainstorming around that. So we used to think, yeah, you made brilliant tests, these guys had good fun with those questions, you know, and they're feeling more and more confident. But we have not captured this experience for next year batches. That is when you start thinking of technology. Again, we used to think, सारी उम्र यही करते रहेंगे यार हम. Batch is coming, batch is going, batch is coming. How are we giving the experiences of, first of all, capturing, storing, and bringing this experience to the subsequent batch? For example, all of you, if you want to watch a Sholay, you can today. Okay? Right? But if somebody made a play then, though you want to see the play of those actors now, can you? Because they're all dead. So you have to see, whatever you're building in a business, how can you have lasting value from that? There was a time we decided, look, if we want to play a bigger game, we have to come at the back end and we have to hire our weaknesses. What do we hire? Well, anybody, apni organizations mein, what kind of people we hire? As simple, our weaknesses. Something I'm not good at, I hire. Fine? So he's my colleague, so he's great in dealing with certain set of people, I'm not. So that's my weaknesses. I have hired one weakness, second weakness, third weakness. We thought, let's try to gather a young team of intelligent people. It could be math, it could be verbal, it could be GD, whatever. Let's start going at the back end, because if you will be dancing all day in front of the audience, everybody would like to see your dance. You know, because you're refining, and if you're dancing all day, who is building the lasting value for 20 years, 30 years? And you always need teams in the beginning, and always. Because in business, many things go wrong. You need people around you who you can blame. Right? You cannot blame everything on Mr. Modi. So many things go wrong in business, so you need people. So I have my couple of team members, they're laughing. So that's why we are together. So this was, and then, you know, if you have team, you can accelerate your time to market. This is very important, if that curve can be shortened. Then second was, we saw a very tough time in 2005-06. I'm not here to tell only our, I would say, lousy stories, but just, I'll tell you why I'm doing that. Because we are from your town, we are part of this group. You should know, you know, and Mr. Singhal is also from here, Sumir is also from here. You should know how things are, because there is someone who has already crossed 600 crores in his business, how he built that. And then others who are trying to build something. 2005-06 was a very difficult time, so we had no other choice. Everything was crumbling down. There was one thing good. So this team that we had, we were sure that they had some capabilities beyond the Indian test prep center. So what we did, we went to the US. I want to fast forward. Somehow we were able to take orders from Pearsons and McGraw-Hills of the world, US, Canada. That was one turning point in a bootstrapping story, because serving the largest publishers of the world like Pearson and McGraw-Hill, developing content of math and science for them, which eventually became part of their books there, that was one more turning point of bootstrapping in our story. Now, on the side, what benefits happened? Process thinking. Because these companies are so process driven. Sitting there, they will check for copyrights, plagiarism, process, everything. And second thing was, the benchmarking improves in the team. When your team is building something for Europe, and the same team has to build something for the Indian market, so you can imagine, you know, automatically the standards of thinking go up. And confidence was the biggest thing. So these very people thought, wow, we are able to do this, we are able to develop that. So now we are much better positioned than others to cater to other verticals. Okay? But here you have to take a very difficult call, and that call is, when you're building the company, some opportunities, some spaces are growing at, let's say, 50% year on year sector, and let's say classroom, it's growing 20% year on year. Now you have to, either you bring outside experts to exploit those opportunities, or you bring your best reliable people to do that, right? So we took a very tough call. We decided we will not put our best people on the biggest existing revenues, but we will put them on the biggest opportunities. Even if it meant taking a big hit on revenues, we did that. There were times that our revenues were plunging, but we had, that was the liberty we had, because that time we did not have external funding. We did not have to show quarter-on-quarter performance. So we were able to harness those opportunities then, which otherwise would have been difficult for a company which either was listed or was VC funded then, because there was pressure of revenues. Then you have to build a moat. Moat, you understand? Defense. M-O-A-T, moat. It is very, very important for every business to build a moat around them. Moat could be of anything. If you ask today, what is a moat for Apple? Maybe 10 billion cash lying in their bank is their moat. Okay, so scale for manufacturers is their moat. Distribution channel could be the moat. So you have to see what moat you are creating, so that first of all your competitors find it difficult to enter, barrier to entry, or to scale. So in our case, you'll be very surprised. In our case, barriers to entry in our space are almost zero. Today, anyone wants to teach 20 students. If you're good in one thing, you can go start it. So how do you build moat? So we thought all the content that we had prepared over the years, we made it free over the net. What was the moat? Moat were the question attempts. Before our competitors woke up to that, 20 crore question attempts had already been, 17 crore question attempts had already been attempted by them. Now we are at around 24 crore question attempts on our board. Now, question is, it's very easy for someone to bring content, bring question items on the net, but to have 20 crore question attempts, because that is the base of our analytics. If any of you used, I met a couple of students, who said that they have used our platform. So that was the moat. So what does moat mean? Try to find out something in your business which is something like, which defies arithmetic. Like, you cannot have 9 women deliver a baby in 1 month. The gestation period. You have to find out, because that can give you the luxury of delaying your external funding. More control for some time. No matter how smart a doctor is, the best of the hospital, best of the gynecologist, but I think it's almost impossible to have a lady deliver a baby in 1 month. 9 women deliver a baby in 1 month. So you have to find what is that in your game. Sometimes things are there, so you can leverage upon them. And then, as I mentioned about the early team, that is the team. They are your co-pilots. They're sitting with you all the time. They actually save you from many costly mistakes. These are the people who help you build the company, because in their normal working hours, they do their stuff. It could be, in our case, it was teaching or tutoring, and the extra time that we spent, they used to spend on the platform, which eventually became the driver of scale. So, summing up, what are the advantages? Advantages are like, you can focus, advantages of bootstrapping, you can focus more, there are no distractions, you can take your long-term decisions, and you are making a ground-up team, which means culture is in your hand. So, things like that. And what would be the negatives? There are some negatives, but I think those are avoidable. I think my personal case, sometimes bootstrapping becomes so painful that it starts affecting your health. What you see, this is not health, this is unhealth. Okay? So, health means the way you are looking today. So, sometimes, and then second is, for example, I have 2 grown-up children. My daughter is 19, my son is 15, but I still live in my parents' house. I don't know you will call it positive or negative. Because look, there are people around you, your spouse, your children, so they have to live the lifestyle which you have kind of given them or chosen. It may or may not be of their liking. Fortunately, it worked for us. It kept the family well knitted, but I've seen many families, they cannot. Girls, daughters-in-law cannot live with parents. Your children want to live independent life. So you have to take the call. Although it's little kind of, I'm taking it to the personal side. So this is all I wanted to share with you. So what are the lessons? I have a couple of minutes, Prem. Yeah. So what are the lessons we learned? What's the moral of the story, not lessons? So first is, bootstrapping teaches us how to do more with less. Do you agree? Can you speak that? What is that?
It's like more.
To do more with less. And you must build teams, even if they're simple teams, right from the beginning, because you need people around you who you can blame. It's very important. Okay, you cannot take all the stress yourself. And then you should always keep in mind that bleeding is not an option. Loss making is not an option. So in our case, maybe it was trial by fire. So I don't know how we came out of it. But if you know that bleeding is not an option, you will work maybe 22 hours a day. And then choose your spouse carefully, because running two startups at the same time is very challenging. Okay, very, very challenging. And lastly, you may be thinking, me speaking too much like Sacha Baron Cohen, LEG? No. Okay. Try to search LEG today. Okay, and last was, you will always have one advantage of gestation period in your business, if there is any, because 9 women cannot deliver a baby in 1 month. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, actually, being on this side of Q&A session is like facing ragging. No? And you should know, actually, there are anti-ragging rules these days. So ask your questions carefully. Yeah, so any questions? I'm here for another 5-10 minutes for Q&A then before Mr. Singer takes up. Yeah.
You talked about not going into the VC funding. So,
Okay, fine. So, very nice. She says, if you have low working capital, what does it say about the company? A lot. Look, there are, first of all, for different sectors, there are different drivers of business. Or a big hosiery, or textile, or hand tools. If you don't have working capital, I don't think anybody's going to touch you, because you're in a very high risk situation. What do you think? Whereas, if you are in a situation that you have a certain program, very niche program, and you have 2-3 wonderful people to deliver that, it could be you as founders, maybe you don't need working capital. It all depends upon the sector, and within your space, what unique you have. Within the same space also, some companies may need more working capital than others. For example, a Tata would need, for a certain level of business, less working capital than another company. Sometimes I discuss this with my team members, very interesting. I said, if 2 companies have to start the same business, let's say Tata and second other group, I won't name the group here publicly. So these 2 companies are the same size, so they have to come and start a business. Who is already better off?
which is in branding.
But why?
It has a brand name. It has a brand name.
I'll tell you, I asked this of one of my franchising managers once. He was very pissed off once with his franchisees and he wanted to do something. I had him sit. I said, no, even if you are losing this 50,000 rupees, it was way back, 7-8 years back, so let it go. He said, why? Then I had to explain him step by step. I'm fast forwarding. If I said, today, Tata wants to, our office is on Firozpur Road, okay, near Welcome plant. I said, if today Tata has to open a store here versus the other company, whom would you prefer? You have to rent out. So, okay, we are the tenant, we are the landlords, they are the tenant. He said Tata. I said fine. If you have to give it at 5% lesser, will you give? He says yes. 7%? He said yes. So now Tata is already at an advantage of 7% lesser rent. Fine. If I said, if your cousin has to or your brother has to apply to either of these two companies, which company would you recommend him? He says, of course, Tata. I said, even if they get 5,000 less per month? He says, yes. I said, look, their hiring cost is also lesser. Similarly, their purchasing cost is also lesser. Their rent is also lesser. Their compliance, everything is low. So, what reputation you have built over the years, you don't know. It's already bottom line. It's already bottom line. So you have to see what most often we underestimate the power of reputation. Believe me, it has already given you a few percentage points in your bottom line, everything that you do in your business. Yeah. So, next question. Any questions or anything where I went wrong, you can correct me.
Morning, sir. Sir, I want to ask something like, if there is Apple has just introduced its new Apple iWatch. Now, we have seen in the market like the companies like Xiaomi and Samsung are coming with the new and improved technologies like S Watch. So, if we are on the side of Apple, how can we deal with such competitors?
I'll tell you, the best thing is, you have to go a little deeper. I think, first of all, I'm not a techie, okay, but whatever I know of it, I can tell you. The advantage that Apple has today, it is around the complete ecosystem that they have built over the years. You see their philosophy of how they launched iTunes. You are talking about a bigger mobile phone at higher price point versus lower, right? I am taking you to a situation that they ask you, we sell every song at 99 cents, whereas these songs are available free of cost everywhere. But why do millions and millions of people every day buy dozens and dozens of 99 cent each songs from iTunes? That is the real beauty.
Brand version.
Okay, so see how they have positioned that. It's not easy. How many of us, other than after CDs came and went, tell me even a single one of us who's bought music online? Very rare. So 1 out of 70 people. So second thing was, you see where the value they were driving. Because the way they changed the consumption of music, that was through iPod. Because iPod became such a cool thing. Everybody wanted those white earphones in their ears. This is one. So when you will extend it, you will get to know how important it has become for all of, I'm sure many of you are not even have started earning. How many of you have iPhones here? You see that. Hardly 2-3 of you may have bought it with your own money, the rest through your parents' money. Because some product, the perceived value of products is so high that you want to possess them. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Hello sir, myself name Kushal. Sir, you talked about hiring your insecurities or your weaknesses. I just
Very important for us, especially right from the beginning stages. You have 5-6 departments. You have your HR, you have your marketing, you have your sales, you have your system, your production, or whatever. It is very important to have few tenets for each department. Very important. Even if you lose an Einstein, you're okay, who doesn't fit your tenets. Believe me, I don't want to say we have lost many. But I'll tell you what. But we have bought long-term peace. This is one. But second, I'll tell you the flip side. Because that if that Einstein is not with you, he's with your competitor. You have to understand that. And if you can handle that, because in our line, and especially in tech line, there are very few great people. Like for example, if you will talk of phones and tablets, UI is one big piece in the game, right? And there are a handful of people available. You get my point? What if somebody comes and says, okay, I will come, there are many things. I will come, I'll work like this, but I'm in a habit. I have to drink all day while I'm working, otherwise I'm not at my best. So if you can have that, that's fine. Maybe we won't, I think. So tenets are very, very important. For example, we are very clear, so we have our HR people also sitting here. We have to show those tenets to people before we hire them. So if they are okay with it, it is पहले कड़वे हो लेना better है लोगों के साथ रोज की subjectivity और gray area में रहने से. This is what I think. It is better to lay your cards open. And sometimes, let me tell you, it is just your apprehension that people may not agree to that. But in 70% of the cases, people may. For example, in Punjab, we work 6 days a week. But the people you may like to hire from Gurgaon or Bangalore, they work 5 days a week. Will you change it overnight? If you can, it's fine. I'm not saying that. We haven't so far. So there are many other things. Like we don't give flexi hours because we have a reason. Because we are building the team, anytime any idea comes, we need all 5, 6 people together, they have to brainstorm, they have to do either or and go. It depends what stage. When there will be maybe 4,000 people, when we have different teams, we scatter team, we may think of that. It depends upon what stage you are at or what space you are in. It's purely your call and you should be very bold about it. Yeah. Yes.
You said that building of code. So how it is possible in today's world, like it is very if we do it like using superior technology, but our competitors can also copy it. So how is it possible?
So that's what I said. We are talking about the journey 1 to 10. Okay? 1 to 10, I already mentioned. For example, if you have to start competing against Coke today, what is it that stops you? Because a 20 rupee bottle costs you, let's say 2 rupees, 3 rupees, the product. But what stops you? Have you thought about that? It is the moat. And if you have to start, let's say an Uber or an Ola, so you can also make an app, you can tie up with a few taxi drivers, but what is the moat? I'll tell you what the moat is. Moat in Coke is, I think, almost maybe 1 billion bottles or 300 ml units are consumed every day. You have to give me a very, very strong reason to switch from Coke to, let's say, Manisha Cola or whatever. Otherwise, you cannot. There's a big, big moat. And in such companies, your satisfied customers is your moat. Because any other company, they have to give them a very, very substantial reason to switch from one to the other. Similarly, in taxi hailing, you pick up the app, you already see 10 cabs are near you. So it means capacity of cab drivers is their moat. It's not maybe customers, it is the capacity, additional capacity they have already added. Now, you read, they raise $500 million. Where is this money going? Do you see ads of Uber and Ola? No. Do you see, do they buy cars? No. Where is this money going then? You have to think. Are they having 50,000 engineers? No. Where is this money going? That's the moat. So it depends, every sector has to create. For example, in manufacturing, Singlesab does 3 kinds of business. He's B2C, he's OE and exports. You can ask him, he has different kinds of moats. He has his international business, he has 3 offices in China, how he's playing his game. Sometimes I feel very happy about it. So he has his own moats. Yeah. But moat is a must, let me tell you. Otherwise, there is no defense to your business. Was it all okay? Thank you so much. Thank you for not dragging me.